Hi, I'm Anna McDougall. I'm Director Product and Engineering, Projects and Organisation for Axel National Media and Tech, and I'm the author of You Belong in Tech, How to Go from Zero Programming Knowledge to Hired. I'm here today to talk all about my top tips for how to get into tech for those who might be thinking about a career change. If you want a technical job, you have to learn technical skills. There are so many different ways to do that. I think one thing that people underestimate is the variety of ways that you can acquire those skills. It's not just about going to university. It's not just about doing a boot camp. You can learn online by yourself. You can learn in other structured programs. You can learn through mentorship. But one of the most important things that I talk about when learning technical skills is not just to think about the programming language, but actually to think about the way in which programmers work. So this is where the concept of agile methodologies comes in. It sounds very fancy, and to anyone who doesn't know what it is, maybe it sounds a bit scary, but basically it just means being open to learning and trying to learn step by step. So you start with small goals and you learn those, and then you adapt your goals based on what you've learned. So it's a really cool way of thinking, not just for work, but also for life. And it's something I advise people to look into. The other thing I would say is Git and any sort of version control, super important as a technical skill to learn. I think those two things alone, if you can add those on top of your actual programming ability, you've already got a really good head start on developing the skills you need to fulfill that first stage of learning. The second step to developing a career or to starting a career in tech is actually to form some sort of community or some sort of network around you. Again, there is so much variety in how you can do this. I think if in doubt, try to go with things that are local. Now that corona restrictions are easing a bit more, there's a bit more availability of things like meetups, conferences, and actual physical events that you can go to. It's very hard to replicate that kind of networking online, but there are plenty of online communities as well, especially for specialist groups for women, mothers, people with different backgrounds or different sexualities or religions, where you can find people who you relate to and who can help you not only understand the programming world, but also just form connections, get help if you need it while you're learning, and form friendships, to be honest. You know, they say that most jobs and most job opportunities come from networking. That's true of basically every industry, and it's also true of tech. The third step is kind of the most obvious one, which is actually applying for jobs and doing interviews. So there are lots of different techniques for this. I talk about them, of course, in a lot of detail in my book, but the core idea here is, again, to connect via people. So not just to see a job opening and just send off your CV and hope for the best. The idea is to look into who is posting this ad, and not just from the company perspective, but actually like who is the recruiter, who is the hiring manager? Can I talk to them? Can I ask them questions before I apply? Based on that information, you can then adapt your cover letter, adapt your CV, and really create very specialized application documents for the jobs that you're interested in. Or alternatively, you can actually talk to engineers from those companies in advance. Say, hey, I've seen this position is available. I think it would be on your team. Do you know more about it? Can you tell me more about what would be involved? And just have a chat. And then you can use that, I call it in my book the NNQ-System, names, numbers, and quotes. These are the three things that you need to include basically throughout your CV, throughout your cover letter. You talk about the names of people who connect you to that job. So I chatted to Iris from your software development team, and she said that you require a high level of skills in TypeScript. I have 3 years, there's a number, experience in TypeScript. My colleagues have described me as a great source of information and mentorship, and there's your quote. You know, people can't deny that. Names, numbers, quotes, all of these things, regardless of the background, they will help build this image of you as someone who is good to work with, and ideally also qualified. That's the goal. The other big thing about job applications and interviews is the concept of practice. No one likes seeing themselves on camera or hearing their voice back. It can be really painful, especially if you've never done it before, but it's so important that when you've worked out what your unique selling point is, when you've worked out what your elevator pitch is, what you offer an employer, you then go away, stand in front of the mirror, and practice it until you can't get it wrong. Then you have to sit in front of a camera and record yourself doing it, and you have to watch it back, and you have to be kind but critical. So imagine that you're giving feedback to your best friend. You want to help them get the job, but you're also not going to be like, well, you kind of sucked. You know, you're going to try to keep it kind but critical, and then give yourself that feedback and allow yourself to get better, because interview skills, like any skill, like technical skills, networking skills, communication skills, it's about practice. And if you can give yourself that warm feedback and allow yourself to improve those skills, it will pay off by the time you get into a job interview. Everything considered, there's a lot to learn, but there's so much potential there. I really do feel like there's a place in tech for everyone. So yeah, all I can say is good luck, keep practicing, and you can get there for sure.